Every one of us deserves the right to be a valued member of society, regardless of our differing abilities. Let us take you on a journey. I'd like to share 2 moments that were unquestionably the toughest and most challenging that I've had to overcome. Sometimes reaching great levels of despair, hopelessness, and depression. These times were also full of anger, resentment, and questions. Questions of why did this happen to me? What is it that is taking over her fragile and vulnerable body? And where do I go for help and guidance? When did this happen to my child? And how do I fix it? The first moment I encountered the dreaded D word, diagnosis, was in 2009 when my beautiful Ruby was born with 10 fingers and 10 toes and was quite content like a textbook baby. But what I didn't realise was that something was about to rear its nasty head and leap out from nowhere. Not even a year old, and our lives changed in a split second. Possible mitochondrial disorder. This is a serious and life-threatening illness. Severe pain, severe spasm, dislocated hips requiring surgery, fed by gastrostomy requiring 24-hour feeds, infantile spasms, constipation, complex care needs, epilepsy, undiagnosed syndrome characterized by spastic cerebral palsy, developmental regression, significant neurodevelopmental impairment and minimal functional ability, gastrointestinal motility problems and a presumed food allergy, as well as significant failure to thrive. Palliative. Welcome to the land of the diagnosis of a disability. I felt like I'd been swallowed into a large black hole with no way out, no one to save me and no one to help my daughter, helpless and lost. What is significant though is that I got out of that deep, dark, lonely hole. What saved me? What enabled me to keep going for months, years on end with no sleep, watching my child in constant extreme pain, when no amount of medication would take the screams away? For me, the answer was and continues to be faith. Faith that all will be okay and that the right people will come into our lives when we need them. Faith that no matter the diagnosis, as long as there is faith, all will be okay. And things got better. The screaming stopped. The fear grew fainter. The sadness mellowed and the depression lifted. I felt free and believe wholeheartedly that Ruby will be okay, whatever okay is. Faith is only one part of the survival strategy. The second pebble on the path of my journey is another D word, disability parking permit. Why, oh why, do they create such angst, anger, and hostility amongst our community? Let me explain. I arrived at the shopping centre car park and pulled into a disability permit holder car spot. The intention was to nip in, manoeuvre my 5-year-old daughter, together with feeding pump, who is in a pram, plus her 7-year-old sister pushing a trolley for me as we get our weekly groceries. Add to this the array of long-winded glances in our direction. It's always a delightful outing. So, we step out of the car and a middle-aged lady starts to approach me. Here we go, I think to myself. You know this is for permit holders only, she says in a rather unfriendly and aggressive manner. Yes, I am aware of that, and I do actually have one if you would like to look. She ignores me, and she continues to abuse me in front of both of my daughters. I start to get quite annoyed and frustrated by this point. This lady had also parked next to us in a disability permit zone, but by this stage I saw red. I quickly packed Ruby and all her equipment into the pram. I grabbed her sister by the hand and we started walking up to the lady. I said, "Excuse me." She carried on, ignoring me. "Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry, I see you can walk by yourself. Oh, and you can talk by yourself too. You can drive also. How wonderful that must be. Unlike you, my daughter cannot eat orally. She cannot walk. She cannot talk. She cannot sit unaided. And she cannot defend herself when people like you speak so disrespectfully of others. Perhaps next time think before you speak to someone else like that." I was shaking by this point, but this had just gone one step too far. I am not the only one who deals with this behaviour on a daily basis. The truth is, disability can affect anyone at any time. It may not always be visible to the naked eye, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we could encourage mindfulness here today? Let us be present in the moment and even put ourselves in someone else's shoes. Let's encourage people to pause for a moment before jumping to accusations. Let's offer help to someone more in need, and let's be more mindful that people genuinely need the specially designed and located parking spaces. Let's allow them to be a part of our community without one more barrier. Life can be full of so many challenges that the majority take for granted. Let's be aware of others who may be facing a few more challenges. After all, each one of us deserves to be a valued member of society.
If you look at the two young children in front of you, you would assume that both children would be given equal opportunities in life. Of course, right? Well, actually, wrong. The boy on the left is my son Ollie, who has a disability. The girl on the right is Ollie's friend Sophie, who does not have a disability. My beautiful son Ollie was diagnosed with a neurological condition at 7 months of age after he too experienced a bout of epileptic infantile spasms. Initially, we spent weeks in hospital undergoing tests, neurology appointments, and weekly early intervention sessions with physiotherapy, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. Needless to say, the first 18 months of his life were clouded by a lot of fear, worry, and uncertainty about how Ollie's condition would affect his development. When Ollie's health was stable, we enrolled him to attend a mainstream childcare centre. Ollie was yet to have much interaction with children his age. This was a big step and a transition that I assumed would be positive. Not for a second did I think he would have trouble assimilating into a mainstream environment, providing we just got a little extra support, right? Again, wrong. After a year of ups and downs, getting called into his childcare almost daily to settle him, feedback about behavioural issues, lack of encouragement with disability equipment, and finally, the suggestion of putting him into the nursery with babies when he was 2 years old, I withdrew him. For the first time, I began to wonder, surely this isn't as good as it gets for Ollie. You see, the problem was not with the staff. They were doing their best in a busy environment, but without adequate support. The problem was the lack of effort made by an entity at the top of an unreachable chain. Ollie had the opportunity to have a government-funded inclusion support worker shadow him at that childcare, an extra pair of hands just for him, for when he needed a bit of help to eat, to move, to help him be part of it all. After 4 attempts at trying to push the centre to apply for this support, I was met with silence. The only interaction I had from management was when they dropped in one day and noticed Ollie banging his head out of frustration and immediately had one of the carers suggest I take him to the doctors. What exactly was a GP going to do to stop Ollie banging his head? He needed a prescription of empathy, not a pill. This lack of understanding and respect demands a change in perspective. Fast forward a few years, and Ollie was on the wait list for a spot at a local mainstream childcare centre. Of course I had my reservations. It's mainstream. How much better could it be than our previous experience? From the first day of enrolling, provisions were put in place to have extra support for Ollie. There was paperwork to get through, But by the time he was ready for his first day, the inclusion support worker was there to greet Ollie, and from that day on, he has truly gone from strength to strength. The openness towards learning about Ollie's needs by the staff there has seen them welcome his therapists to do education sessions at the centre. This change in perspective allows the staff to learn how to help Ollie with his needs. They then go on to teach the children how to support him. This interlink of education, respect, and awareness makes us both feel valued. Not only are the staff and children teaching Ollie so much, he too is teaching them many valuable things. After all, every one of us deserves the right to be a valued member of society, right? It warms my heart when we arrive of a day and I hear little voices in the background saying, "Ollie's here. Ollie is my friend."
Every child deserves a voice, regardless of whether they can speak or not. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding the right key to unlock what's in their hearts and minds. The story shared with you today to remind us about the importance of inclusivity. In the dictionary, inclusivity translates as the fact or policy of not excluding members or participants on the basis of race, class, gender, sexuality, or disability. In our opinion, and as mothers of Ruby and Ollie, we feel like this could be rephrased, because to suggest that someone with a disability should not be excluded more or less insinuates that it's a privilege for them to be included, and we do not see it this way. So how about we look at it like this? All people, regardless of race, class, gender, sexuality, or differing abilities, should have the opportunity to work, learn and play together in a cohesive environment, celebrating each other's differences and enhancing each other's lives in a truly rich and rewarding way.
So we are here today promoting our rephrased meaning of inclusivity. Our service provides a place for children of all abilities to be together, to learn, to love and to play. We encourage these children and their families to aim for the stars. So today we're going to send you away with a gift box, and in this box is power. The power for you to change your lives today and in turn empower someone else's. Let children lead the way. Children are curious, so let's be curious. Let's just ask questions and make these discussions a normal part of our everyday life. Let's lead rich and rewarding and fulfilling lives in this world as one. After all, each one of us deserves the right to be a valued member of society. Thank you.
Thank you.